Hi! I'm super excited to be here. I'm a Moz fan and evangelist from way, way back. Never even attended this event. It's an honor to be on this stage and a pleasure to be able to teach you some of the best that I've learned in all these years. 18 years in SEO and 12 years in content marketing, so Cyrus, thanks for that. This one, I am going to do a content strategy presentation that tries to combine all the most effective tactics I know into one united strategy. And I'm going to make the case that this is a strategy used by only 1% of content programs. Statistically used by only 1%. I'm going to start with a breakdown. This is how I explain how content and SEO work together. If you read a lot of the blogs, it makes it sound like just write some good stuff, and visitors find that through search, social, and email, and they go from your blog post to that service page, right? From there they go to your about page, the contact page where they fill out a form, the thank you page. We are building a bridge. Digital marketing is about building a bridge between Google and your thank you page. That may be true. But it's, even if the blog content is driving a lot of traffic, on this account more than 1 million visitors a year, these people do not have commercial intent, and they are, in fact, extremely unlikely to ever become a lead. Make a little segment in Google Analytics for people who start their visit on a blog post and look at the conversion rate. On this account, it's 0.03%. These people just aren't that likely to become a lead. If you want to make another segment to show people who start their visit on a sales page, a service page, a product page, that number's like 50 times higher, right? People who start their visit on a sales page are 50 times more likely to become a lead because they have commercial intent. So that arrow, that first arrow that connects the blog post as if visitors go from blog posts to service pages, it is vanishingly small. These leads are so unlikely that when they happen, I actually take a screenshot. I'm like, wow, somebody who read a blog post actually needed our services. It's just that unlikely. Also unlikely is that people will ever link to your sales pages, right? That almost never happens. Why would someone link to your service page? What people do link to all day, every day is helpful, useful articles. So this is how I explain domain authority, content strategy, SEO, to people like my mom. We make this helpful, useful content to give the universe something to link to. Those links pass authority to every page on our domain, making every one of our URLs more likely to rank, which is how we get that service page to rank for the money phrase, attracting a qualified visitor, that visitor who's more likely to become a lead, literally 50 times more likely to become a lead. We would never attract that qualified visitor and guide them toward our thank you page if we didn't have sufficient ranking for that page, which we will never have if we don't have sufficient domain authority, which we'll never have if we don't have links to our website, which we'll never have if we don't have helpful, useful articles. That's how I break it down. So people that understand this have a better strategy, and you kind of put it all together. Here's a little video. I love this. This is the story of the blue shirts versus the red shirts. It's a soccer game. The good strategies versus the bad strategies. It's a tale of quality versus quantity. Watch this game. OK. The blue shirts are literally going to run circles at first here around the red shirts, right? They've got a better strategy. They know what they're doing. They're collaborating. They've got some interconnected content. It's all about quality. They know exactly how to pay. They're not worried at all, right? It doesn't matter. The red shirts, watch this. They've got like 10 goalies. Do you think, no problem. Do you think that bothers them at all? No way. These guys, the blue shirts easily win. No problem. That's digital. That is digital every day, right? Why do some people get so much better results than others, right? Some content strategies crush. They outperform everybody. That's what I want to do for you today. I'm going to show you the specific things that separate those blue shirts from the red shirts, because it's not that good content is good and bad content is not so good. It's that good content is amazing and bad content is basically worthless. You could put twice as many red shirts on that field, same outcome. You could have half as many red shirts on that field, same outcome, right? Most content gets no results at all. So my first point, I've got like 4 or 5 things for you. My first point is about original research. Definitely what the blue shirts are going to do. Steve Racin, Moz and BuzzSumo collaborated to analyze 1 million articles to figure out what correlates with links and shares. The output was the scariest hockey stick curve in all of digital marketing. Showed that 75% of content nobody ever links to. 50% get 2 or fewer Facebook interactions. And then he concludes that there are 2 things that are the outperformers, right? What are they? It's the opinion-forming authoritative content, and it's the well-researched and evidenced content. I'll paraphrase Steve here. Strong opinion and original research. Plug any competitor, any brand, any website into the Link Explorer, and you'll see exactly what people are linking to. Or look at your own site in Search Console. The original research is crushing all other formats for content. Why? Because it makes that brand, that website, that domain the primary source. People link to original research all the time, right? So I'm going to give you 3 examples, and you can do this. Anyone can do this. You can do it for yourselves. Here's 3 ways in which we've done it. No mystery. What is the lifespan of a website? Anyone? I didn't know. Who knows, right? Kind of a missing piece of data. So downloaded a list of the top marketing websites. Alexa.com has a list of everything. Gave it to a virtual assistant to go look at all these websites in the Wayback Machine, archive.org, and came back and produced a statistic for us. The average lifespan of a website happens to be 2 years and 7 months. We produced an original statistic that did not exist on the internet before. We solved for X. We answered a question that was where there was missing data. Wikipedia links to this article. I'm not saying that's an equity passing link. I am saying that's indication that it's quality content. And I'm not doing this for fun, right? I have to generate demand for my services, and it's attracted links. It actually, more than 100 websites have linked to this. Haven't done any link building or outreach for this. It's just organically attracted links as it's become visible to other people. Example 2, what features are standard on websites? We build websites. We've built thousands of websites. We build 40 sites a year. We build a website for a company. The guy calls me afterwards. This is like my tiny phone. The guy calls me afterwards and says, where's my search tool? You didn't put a search tool on my website. OK, he had a narrow sitemap, very shallow, not a lot of content, good descriptive navigation. He doesn't need a search tool. But his question really was, isn't that standard? Why isn't there a search tool? Isn't that standard on websites? Great question. What is standard on websites? What features are standard on websites? Same exercise. Download my list of websites, give it to a virtual assistant, give that virtual assistant a list of attributes and elements that might be on websites, and produce this chart. I have credibly answered the question, what is standard on websites? This, you can see right here, right? 75% or more had that. I called that a website standard. It's just an example of how you can create data where there wasn't data, solving an information gap. If that page ranks number 2 for web design standards, it may actually rank even higher. I might be outranking the .gov. We should take the day off, team, if we're outranking .gov. But it ranks right above the standard setting body for the internet. Look, I'm outranking the World Wide Web Consortium. Turns out they're not very good at SEO over there. They don't have to be. They control the internet. They're fine. But that page has created lots of visibility on its own, more than 100,000 visits over time. And yes, it's also been a magnet for links. It's the primary source. It gives the universe something to link to. More than 200 websites have linked to that URL. Remember, 75% of websites nobody ever links to, of web pages nobody ever links to. One more quick example. This one we're actually even better known for. For this, we use survey data because the data's not available otherwise, asking people, how long does it take to write a blog post? How long does it take to write a blog post? I don't know. Do you know? Does anyone know? We reached out to 1,000 bloggers, asked them 15 questions. One of them was how long it takes to write a blog post. We did this year after year. The first year we did it, the answer was 2 hours and 24 minutes on average. Last year, it was 3.5 hours. The time to write a blog post has gone up 40% over the last 5 years. This URL is the source of that information. Having done this, and we repurposed the same URL over and over, 1,800 websites have linked to that one content program. That's good. That's helpful. That's a good thing. And that's with zero outreach. The only outreach was to the bloggers to get them to take the survey. I should do link building. I plan to do it one day. I'm going to give it a try. So the format for this, the stealable, scalable, repeatable approach for you guys is this. Whatever industry you're in, any industry, works for any, just ask yourself, what do people often say but rarely support with evidence? What is the frequently asserted but rarely supported statement in your field? Find and publish and promote the missing statistic, and you will win the internet for the day. You will have contributed to your industry. You will have added to the conversation. You will have made yourself the primary source in your field. So everybody does this, right? Nope. According to Michelle Lin at Mantis Research, only 47% of brands have ever published original research in the last 12 months. Our blogger survey shows it's less than that. It's like 1 in 5. Hinge marketing shows that high-growth brands are 3 times more likely to promote, to create original research as part of their content strategy. Probably because it's harder. Now, we spend, I'll do 6 to 8, maybe 10 hours of writing on each article. With counting the editing time and images, this is like 15 hours per article. That blogger survey takes us 150 hours each year to produce one URL, 150 hours. Why would I spend 150 hours on one piece of content? Sounds crazy, right? It's because I will do anything possible to move myself even a little bit farther over on this graph. This is the most important, least scientific graph I'm going to show. This is how I think about it. Time and effort are linear, but results, every chart in digital, have you noticed this? They're all exponential curves. Everywhere. Every chart in digital is an exponential curve. So why don't you do whatever you can to move yourself even a little bit farther over there? Makes a huge difference. Literally, 15 hours to 150, that's 10x the effort. But 1,800 websites have linked to that content program. So I don't do this because I have time. I do this because I'm super busy, and I can't waste my efforts making more red shirts. The world is not waiting for another medium quality blog post. Just skip it. Just don't do that. Do something that pushes yourself way farther over here, because I don't have time to write a lot of medium quality stuff. I'm busy. I've got to take selfies. That's my little girl, Ada. She's 1 year old. I make these, you put like frozen mangoes and yogurt in a smoothie, and then there's popsicle forms. Look, she loves that. And she gets along pretty well with Eli, my 3-year-old. This is why I spend more time. This is why I work harder on each piece. This is why I only publish once every 2 weeks. It's for these guys. And by the way, they are doing great. These kids are super smart. They're well on their way. So they say, so Sonia Simone, one of my content heroes, my 2 mentors from afar, the ones I learned the most from in the early days. Sonia Simone, Chief Content Officer of Copyblogger, and Ann Handley, Chief Content Officer of Marketing Profs. Sonia says, don't take shortcuts, they take too long. It's not worth it. You'd rather have 1 red shirt than 100 of those, or 1 blue shirt than 100 red shirts. Okay, the second thing, collaborate with influencers. I'm going to break it all down now. I'm going to start at the beginning and break it all down. What do you need to stay in business? I'm doing B2B lead gen. This should work for anybody, but I'll do B2B lead gen. You want to lead, you need 2 things, traffic and the conversion rate. Cheese and mousetrap. You want traffic, 3 classic sources of traffic in digital or in content marketing: search, social, email. Search, though, are the much more likely to convert visitors. We'll focus on search. They have stronger intent. Look at your analytics, conversion rate for your default channel groupings, you'll see. So we're talking about rankings. So why do things rank? The 2 big search ranking factors, authority and relevance, as in links and content. So now we get to the best question in digital. Why do people link to things? 2 simple reasons. That you have relationships with people who create content, and you have something worth linking to. Now, we already said that the something worth linking to is original research. Now we're going to do the next part of this, which is creating relationships with other content creators. Okay? I want to collaborate with content creators. You see a lot of people on social media. Not all of them are content creators. What you need as a content marketer and an SEO is to have this like circuit in your brain for when you see content creators. You're going to spend 10 minutes in social later today. Your radar should be up. And when you see people bloggers, editors, journalists, they're the 1%. The 1% rule. 1% of us, we are here today, make the internet. 99% of people just consume the internet. They're the lurkers. They might comment or amplify or share, but they're not creating content. People who don't create content don't create links. So I have to sort of selfishly pay special attention to those people that are creating content. Several people have mentioned BuzzSumo the last few days. Just filter for bloggers and journalists. Boom! Everyone you find in that category is going to be a content creator. And BuzzSumo licenses the links, the domain authority data, and you can see right there the search and social benefits for each. Pretty handy. So when you collaborate, this is organic influencer marketing. I'm not paying for this. I don't have a budget. I don't spend money on marketing. We're going to do contributor quotes. We're going to do expert roundups, and we're going to do deep dive interviews with those people, not just anybody, but the columnists, the journalists, the academic researchers, the event directors, the podcasts, and the bloggers and editors, so that we can make stuff together. So you worked really hard on that influencer, that giant piece of research, right? How do I get the big-time publishers and researchers and influencers to see the awesome research I made? Boy, 150 hours of work went into it. I would love it if Jay Baer knew about my research. That would be great because he writes for some really high domain authority websites. So does Michael Brenner. If Jay and Michael knew about this article, that'd be great for me. Oh, good, I put them in it. They know all about it. If I could get, John Hall writes for all, he's a columnist for all the big publications. If John knew about my article, that'd be fantastic. Oh, perfect, I included him in it. You're stacking the deck. You feel like you're cheating. And by the way, it's what we should do anyway, right? If you want links and mentions, you should give people links and mentions. Give people what you want to get. It's going to come back. It works out somehow in the end. You want LinkedIn recommendations? Write people LinkedIn recommendations. You want comments on your blog? Write comments for people. But yeah, this is a collaborative approach to marketing. We'll break it down. Red shirts and blue shirts. The blue shirt reaches out to their community, socializes the topic, asks about headlines. What do you think of this? Then they include people in the article. These two articles go live. Who do you think gets greater social reach? It's the blue shirt. Blue shirt wins. What's the difference? Collaborative content marketing. Everybody knows that content should be optimized to be promoted well, right? Content is optimized for search. Include your key phrase in the title, header, and body text. Include semantically related phrases. But what not everyone seems to have figured out is that content optimized for social media includes people. There should be people and faces and names. The act of creating something is a networking act. If you want to build relationships with those people that are going to one day mention you, this is how you do it, right? A journalist would never write an article without a source. Why would a content marketer write an article without contributor quotes? Everything I write has contributor quotes. Why wouldn't I do that, right? Because an ally in creating content is an ally in promoting content. I got to interview John Rampton, who's a big-time columnist and influencer. I love this. 1 in 10 people you help will help you back. 1 in 100 will become a lead, like some financial relationship. And he says 1 in 10,000, it's going to be help enough people, and it's really going to come back at you in a big way. So first of all, these contributor quotes make your content better. Secondly, there's going to be greater social reach. They sometimes call that ego bait. And it grows your professional network. Just go check your analytics. The friendship report, you'll see that line going up and to the right. That's a joke slide. We're fine. We're going to move on. I'm going to pretend that was funny. The fun spikes right then. Look at that. Like, wow, I'm doing great. Having a great day in marketing. Actually, it's true. The most important things in life are not in your analytics. Have you noticed that? Way more to life than data. So everyone's doing it, right? Nope. Only 15% of B2B brands have ongoing influencer marketing programs. Very similar. It's the best content strategies don't just publish on their own website. They publish everywhere. They have a PR mindset. The red shirt writes 2 articles. The blue shirt writes 2 articles and pitches one to an editor who publishes it, wins a link back to their site. That's the dotted line. And they got another contributor to write for their site, right? So they've got more content associated with their brand. They've got a network. They've got friends and links. Round 2. Round 4. Yeah, nice blog, buddy. But this is what great web marketing looks like. What's the difference? Collaborative content marketing, right? Pitching, reaching out to other websites, putting things that you made in front of a new group of people. So everybody does this, right? Nope. Only 65% of bloggers in our survey ever write for other websites. A third of them are trapped on their own site, just pumping out the posts, just hitting the publish button in WordPress, one after the other. So I've written 380 articles about digital marketing, 12 years of content I mentioned. Still, to this day, a third of my articles are guest posts. Why would I ever stop doing that? Why wouldn't I ever want to reach a larger audience, right? I will never stop doing that. I'll let you read that. The fourth tactic, update older posts. This one took me a while to figure out. The aggregate, the total amount of traffic and brand awareness that you create is a sum of all the URLs on the website, right? So if the more of these you have, that's the analytics for this one URL that got performance at first from email and social, and then that long tail of traffic from SEO, right? The thing ranks, it's visible. The more of these you create, the more total brand awareness you have. So how do you make more of these? I'm going to bust many of you probably already know this. I'm going to break down one of my most reliable wins in SEO. I call this how to get higher rankings in 5 minutes. It works like this. Go to the Acquisition Search Console Queries report. A little easier to use in here than in Search Console. And then you can see all the phrases you rank for and how high you rank for them. I'm going to create an advanced filter to say, hey, Google, just show me the phrases for which I rank high on page 2. So far, this has taken me 10 seconds. Literally, Google is making me a list, right? Include for average position greater than 10. If you rank greater than 10, you rank on page 2. This is a list, sort by position. This is a list of all the phrases for which you rank high on page 2. Go confirm the ranking in Google search results. See how high you rank, and ask yourself if that's the best page it can be. If not, we're going to go update that page. Don't do keyword research outside. Do your keyword research inside using the keyword data of what's already working. Right? Maybe that's why they call it optimization, because we keep improving it. It's supposed to get better. So after doing this for a while, I realized that there's a small set of pages that are much more important to pay attention to because they're the big traffic magnets. This is the best cheese. It's attracting the most people. Like I said, every curve in digital is an exponential curve. Look at this. Some of our pages are getting 24,000% more traffic than the average page. That's a lot more traffic. Maybe these are the ones that I should be paying special attention to. And I have Moz for me. Moz is an early warning system. The rank is starting to decline. So I have these ways of learning which articles need a little love. Moz tells me, this article needs a little love. Needs help, right? It's starting to decline. It's a good page. It has strong authority, right? There's lots of links to it according to Google Search Console, and it has high page authority according to Moz. It's just not the best page on the internet anymore. It's a trustworthy URL, but it is no longer the best page on the internet for its topic. The first thing I do is I put these things on a list because I need to pay attention to them. I don't want to forget about them. These are the ones that I have to carefully protect because a drop in traffic for these might mean massive traffic drop for my overall website. So the strategy is something I heard Brian Dean mention. This is like at the bottom of a very long interview. Really interesting. He says, I'll paraphrase, only if all of my content is up to date and ranking where he thinks it should be, will he write something new. Otherwise, Brian just goes back and rewrites and re-updates and relaunches something old. Bruce Lee is way more fun. Think of it this way. I fear not the man who practiced 10,000 kicks once, the red shirts, but I fear the man who practiced one kick 10,000 times. So I go rewrite this page. I knew the rank was slipping. I go rewrite the page. Visitors are happy, 70% more time on the page, and the ranking slip reverses. Now the rank is coming back up. I do this all the time. As soon as the page starts to decline, rewrite it. And this is not a light coat of paint. I'm actually recreating the page. It's about an 80% rewrite. I'm going back to these things that were older and doing everything possible to add as much value to them as I possibly can. 100% increase in, takes about half the time of writing a new article. We'll call this twice the traffic in half the time. Almost exactly. This one was almost falling on page 2. Look at that, it's going off the cliff, right? Where's the best place to hide a dead body? Page 2 of Google. It's right there, it's about to fall. Rewrite that one. It's a 460% increase in traffic to that one URL, right? For making it a better page. And then this one, I wrote this a long time ago, 6 web design tips. I've been part of the planning process for like more than 1,000 websites. 6 web design tips based on brain science. That sounds pretty good. It ranked for a while. Time to update this thing. It's no longer very visible. What should it include? We've seen this tip before, right? It's Google Suggest, it's giving me ideas. I'm going to make a list of these related phrases for beginners, tricks, layout. Put those into keywordtool.io. It's going to scrape all of them out at once. 152 related phrases. This is Andy's bootstrapped approach to semantic SEO. I'm finding all the closely related phrases. People also ask Box. It's going to tell me all kinds of stuff I need to include on this. Also, the top ranked website for that phrase, if you put that into Moz and see every phrase that that page ranks for, these are more clues for what the semantically related phrases are. So I have my list now. These are all the semantically related phrases. How do you manage this list? A Google Doc, you can do it on paper, doesn't matter. So here comes the magic. I rewrite the article, and as I rewrite, I cross them off the list. Just cross those items off the list. I covered off on the topic, right? The new article is 27 research-backed web design tips, how to design a website that works. The original was maybe 800 some words. Literally, I had to pan way out. I squished it down in Photoshop so you could see the whole thing. It's 43, there's a lot, it's a big topic, right? The length of an article is driven by the size of the topic. 4,300 words, I've got 5 contributor quotes, 27 sections, tons of original charts and diagrams. My goal, as always, my goal is to make the best page on the internet for the topic. That's my most important slide. If you're not doing that, I don't think you're really doing SEO. This was Russ's point, right? To make the best page, like, do you deserve to rank? Google thinks it is the best page on the internet for the topic. It ranks #1 today, and that's the difference in traffic before and after the rewrite. 200 visitors a month to 2,000 visitors a month. 15 hours of work, was it worth it? Yeah, that's the fun part, is to compete and win. It's attracted 148 links over time. So kind of a radical idea. Maybe you don't need to have 1,000 articles. Maybe you need 100 really good ones. Don't change the URL. I'm in a group of people here who basically understand this, right? No canonicals, no 301s. Why change it at all? Not only should we not change the URL, but as we go forward, here's a trick that took me like 10 years to learn. Write URLs that are easy to reuse. Don't put a number in your URL, because if one day you go rewrite that, you might have 25 different tips, right? And then now there's a mismatch between the URL and the content. And don't put formats in URLs, because if that URL was for an infographic and 2 years later you're going to repurpose that URL to make a long-form piece of content, a long article. So URLs should just be short with no numbers and no formats. I want to tell a true story now for a single piece of content that I wrote 3 years ago that may sound familiar to you. You guys were all here yesterday. We were all here. I was sitting right over there. When Dr. Pete stood up and said that he found a key phrase he wanted to target and that he thought he could beat the other pages that rank for that. Yeah, I'm one of the guys who wrote one of the pages that yesterday he stood up and said, I'm going to beat these websites. I wrote an article called How to Increase Your Domain Authority. This is one thing I wrote. I wrote it years ago. In SEO, you don't usually meet the people you compete with, much less have them come up on stage and tell you they're going to kick your ass. How did this happen? Thanks, Dr. Pete. Wow, that was rough. I have a disadvantage. I'm not a data scientist, so here's my bootstrapped way to do what he did in a much more exhaustive way. He found 320,000 questions. I'm going to find like 20, 31. So I go to Answer the Public. I find a bunch of questions related to domain authority, and I write an article. And Pete, I promise I worked really hard at this thing. I did my best. It answered 11 questions. It had 2,100 words. I interviewed one of the Moz engineers who manages domain authority. That's how serious I am about this, right? I go on social. I find someone who works on Linkscape. I talk to them. Yeah. So there's the total traffic over time, 7,000 visits, until the day that the Dr. Pete truck ran me over. Thanks, Pete. Oh, bummer. No, totally forgivable. I'm not kidding myself, right? I'm targeting a branded key phrase. I have no right, Moz should outrank me for that phrase. Okay, last tip. We're going to upgrade our content to visuals. Here's a surefire, guaranteed, works every time tactic. Turn your top X into Y. It will work. Turn your top blog post into an infographic, right? Turn your top blog post into a video. Because basically, I could argue this is the point of analytics, is to find the outperformers. In Larry Kim's words, your job is to find the unicorns so you can go make baby unicorns. Find those blue shirts and clone the blue shirts so you have more of them, right? It's going to work. Updating, here's my time management tips for you. Updating high-performing content is more valuable than creating new content. Creating visuals is more valuable than writing articles. But writing articles is still a better use of your time than responding to email day to day. Write something useful in the morning before you open your inbox. And yes, it's true. I mean, responding to emails is still more valuable than scrolling through Facebook and Instagram. Delete Facebook from your phone. You'll be more productive immediately. That's my best productivity tip for you. Make your phone boring, and you'll get more done. Eli knows that visual content's important. He produces it all the time. I rarely teach this tactic. I taught this once before. I'm going to show you guys about one of the magical powers of creating high-value visuals. We create diagrams and charts for all these articles. And then we build relationships with influencers, right? You saw me do that. I give links and mentions and promote other people as much as I can. So then some of those people eventually reach out to me and ask me to contribute in their content. So the person says, hey, would you mind contributing to my post? Okay, another true story. I practiced this on my wife, who said, why do you have Seth MacFarlane in your presentation? I'm like, who's that? Oh, it's the creator of Family Guy. Oh, I just searched for guy and found that. I'm like, labeled for reuse, it's okay. Just, his image ranks for guy, and I randomly chose him without knowing who he was. I'm like, Seth MacFarlane never reaches out to me, for the record. I never contribute to his blog posts. Does he write blog posts? I know nothing. I've never seen Family Guy. So, of course, I go look up the authority of that site, estimate the value of the contribution. And then I go look at that list of the posts that need a little love. Each of these is going to have diagrams on it because I worked really hard on my visual assets. And then I suggest the topic from that list. Yeah, sure, I'd love to contribute. How about something on this topic? Sure, sounds great, buddy. And then my contribution has the image in it, and below the image is an image source link. That's a link that is very unlikely to get removed. Is that a thing? Image source link building? Maybe it's a thing already. We can make it a thing. So in the article, it appears there, right? Because when you do contributions to things and you have strong visual assets, you have a magical opportunity to make sure that the link isn't removed or that it refers back to the site, because it'd almost be unethical to remove the image source link, right? Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to put all this together now. I'm going to give an example of a strategy. I'm going to pick a company. It's a coffee delivery service company. This is a real company in Chicago. I don't know them. They're not here. Best Buy's not here. I'm going in. It's all based on this nucleus, right? There's a sales page right in the middle, the money page, and it's optimized for the money phrase, because visitors to this page that start here are 50 times more likely to become a lead. My job is to get this page to rank for what phrase? The commercial intent key phrase. What's that phrase? Office coffee delivery service. The page is also conversion optimized. It answers all the sales questions. It's got testimonials and calls to action, right? It's cheese and mousetrap. The key phrase, difficulty 22. My site's authority is only 16. This is not going to be an easy road. 22 is actually substantially higher than 16, right? Another exponential curve. Domain authority is on a log scale. So fortunately, I've got a strategy to include original research. The target key, I've got a piece of original research where I reached out to 50 of the top offices, asked them what perks they offer. I produced a long-form piece of content with original data, solving for X, right? Finding the missing statistic, including influencers in it. If you're into gating, I've never gated any content, but if that's your style, gate your content, right? And people can give their email address, grow your list. I'm going to write the how-to article. I'm going to write the how not to article and pitch that as a guest post. Editors love these. I call it the evil twin. If you write the best practices piece, write the mistakes piece. You wrote the how to, write the how not to. Pitch that to another website. I've repurposed my content into an infographic. I pitched the infographic, yellow is offsite publishing, pitch the infographic to another website. I find an interview an expert on this topic as my influencer strategy. I pitch myself as an influencer to another website. By the way, Blue Ocean podcasters often don't get pitched. It's a really great opportunity. Show notes link back to things. Pitch yourself to podcasts to talk about your new research. Then I'm going to go update some blog posts, right? They were doing well before. I'm going to improve them. They were doing well before. I'm going to write some other blog posts. This is a unified content strategy that combines tactics that very few brands would do. How often could I do this? Let's do it quarterly. I'm going to do it quarterly. Now remember, this is the domain authority, the key phrase difficulty is 22. Why? Because the other high-ranking websites have a bunch of links to them, between 100 and 200 links to them. I'm starting with 42. If I want to get into that range of like 100 plus websites linking to me, let's say each round of this content strategy produces 25 new links to my website. Yes, I know not all links are created equal, but 25, I started 42 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25. Certainly by next spring, I'm going to rank for Office Coffee Delivery Service. I am 100% confident in this content strategy. It didn't cost me money, it just took me time. It's the blue shirts, right? You can do this. Anyone can do this. There's no magic to it. Okay, 25%. Only 25% of people's of brands ever publish original research. Only 20% are powered by influencers. Only 65% ever publish content on other websites, and only 35% are consistently updated. 0.25 times 0.20 times, I'm bad at math, worse than anyone in this room, but I can do that much. Only 1.23% of strategies would combine these tactics. You guys, easy pickings. Only 1% of strategies are anchored in research, influencer-powered, PR-focused, and updated consistently. 99% of people just didn't make it to Moz today. Too bad for them. We're going to crush those guys. This was super fun. Thank you all.